the next 2 weeks kasi maghahabol tayo ng lesson. Only a week before the finals, doon tayo magkakaroon ng short break. No? And we will have a synchronous session on that day. Okay? So let's start with electrochemistry. If you're a STEM student, which I think most of you are STEM student naman, you should be familiar with this, no? If not, edi okay lang. Electrochemistry, ito yung lesson kung saan ina-understand natin how batteries work, no? And how do we produce electricity? Okay. Is this related to medical technology? Yes. How? Mamaya pakita ko kung paano to related sa field ninyo. Kasi you may be thinking of batteries lang yan eh. Anong gagawin ko sa batteries? Related to sa inyo. No? Later on, I'll give you some examples. So this is the chapter outline. So apparently, ito lang yung na-discuss ko sa class ko kanina. So ibig sabihin yan din di-discuss natin today. Then by next meeting, we will cover until the standard potential, and on Monday, we will cover the last two topics now, which involves chemical equilibrium. Yan na naman yung chemical equilibrium. Okay? So yan. So ito yung gagawin natin, this one, and bahagya lang dito, and then we will cover all of this next meeting, to be followed by this next week. Okay, so that's our schedule. So let's talk about electrochemistry now. So in general chemistry in your senior high school, we defined electrochemistry as the branch of chemistry which focuses on the interconversion of electrical energy and chemical energy. Okay, if you could still recall, the first law of thermodynamics states that the energy is conserved, no? So, ang enerhiya daw ay conserved. So, it is just converted from one form to the other. Okay? So, let's apply that in chemical systems. So, for example, itong battery ng iPad, battery ng pencil, battery ng laptop, battery ng ilaw ko dito. All of those produces electricity or electrical energy. But saan yun galing? It should come from something else, no? In this case, no, the energy source of these devices ay yung battery niya. Okay? And the battery ay may chemicals doon, no? For example, our cell phones today are powered by lithium polymer, no? So, yun. When lithium does certain chemical reactions, it produces electricity enough to power our devices. Okay? So, ganun sa laptop. So sa laptop naman, sometimes they use lithium-powered batteries. Sometimes they use cobalt, nickel, or other compounds, no, para makagawa ng battery, so on and so forth. No? So yeah, so basically in this subject, we are just going to understand how the chemicals are related to electrical potential, no, or yung kuryente. Okay, because their amount changes the potential of the battery. Okay, so saan to related sa field nyo, no? So it seems na parang napaka-tangent naman nito. Kasi parang battery to, tapos ako medtech, anong gagawin ko dun? Okay, so related to sa medtech, no? Especially when we are analyzing substances, no? So take for example this glucose meter or the glucometer here. I actually have one. Wala naman akong diabetes, but yeah, I try. Wala lang. Nabili ko siya eh. So, yun. So, in that glucose meter, so this is the meter, you have a strip. And this strip, kung titignan mo talaga yan, I actually have one dito sa taas. May circuitry dyan, no? May mga circuit dyan. May takay mga copper wires na nandyan. And then your blood will be placed on a certain portion of that strip, no? Then what will happen? Yung blood mo, place mo dyan sa, sa maliit na butas dyan. Then what will happen is that mamaya-maya, after a few seconds, lalabas na yung blood sugar mo. Okay? And then you can now monitor your sugar, no? Especially if you are diabetic. Question is how? Paano yun nangyari? paano niya na-measure yung sugar levels? No? You may ask yourselves, no? The answer is electrochem. Okay? So remember that ang ating solutions, yung mga liquid sa body, they can pass through certain amounts of voltage, 'di ba? Ay, may mga ions kasi sa katawan natin, no? Okay? So ibig sabihin, by determining how much voltage can be passed through the sample, by determining kung gaano karami yung voltage na pwede mag-pass through dun sa ating sample, for example, yung blood, we can determine the concentration of the glucose, no? Kunwari, mataas kunwari yung potential, ibig sabihin, mataas yung glucose level, maraming ions, no? Maraming molecules. Pag mababa yung potential, it could mean na mababa yung glucose mo. Okay? So, yun lang yung idea dito. That this is still related to your field, no? Kasi we are trying to determine the quantities of chemicals like blood, no? Of samples like blood serum. And then from the concentration, by using potential or the voltage, pwede mo malaman yung concentration niya. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, related to sa field ninyo. Okay? Marami pang ganito sa market, no. So we have the glucose meter for one example. Marami pa. I'm not really familiar with some of them, pero alam ko maraming ganito 'yan. Kasi di naman ako di naman ako nag-take ng clinical chemistry, pero doon madi-discuss sa clinical chem yung mga ganitong bagay. Okay? On the other hand, if you work on a laboratory, you should be familiar with the pH meter. So a pH meter is a device which we use to determine the pH of the solution. Gagawin mo, you have this probe here, lulublob mo yun sa tubig, then suddenly lalabas yung pH. So, let's ponder on that, no? Isip tayo, paano nangyari yun? Ilulublob mo lang to, you can get the pH, which is the concentration of hydrogen ions, di ba? So, ano kaya yung ginawa nila, no? So, ang ginawa nila is electrochemistry. This probe actually determines the potential in the solution. Inaalam niya gaano karaming kuryente pwede mag-pass through dyan. Hindi mo yung madadama. Hindi ka makukuryente. Yung mga ions makakadama nun. Okay? So, ilulublob mo yan. Pagkalublob niyan, it will determine how much voltage ang pwede niya i-pass through. Okay? So, depending on the voltage that is passed through by the solution, you can get the concentration. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ang electrochemistry, this is not just focused on batteries. No. Hindi lang siya battery. Hindi lang to pang engineering. This is also important in the medical technology field, no. And in any laboratory subjects. No? Because with the knowledge of electrochemistry, you can create devices that will measure molecules, no? Pwede yung thesis nyo, gawa kayo ng measuring device for certain molecules, no? Gawa kayo ng meter for creatinine, meter for uric acid levels, no? Binibigyan ko na kayo ng idea ano mga pwede nyo i-discover in the future. Kunwari, gusto mo yung yung urine sample, may meters strip ka lang doon na it will determine the concentration of different substances. No? So instead na pupunta ka pa sa high precision diagnostic, kunwari, o kaya sa hospital, you can use that metering device na lang, 'di ba? Malay nyo. And kapag nakagawa kayo ng ganun, you can get your patent, no? Isa kang innovator pag nangyari 'yon. Okay? So this is related to our field, no? Kasi medical technologies are focused on analysis of the quantities of chemicals in human systems, 'di ba? Ganon din dito. Okay? So ibig sabihin, this will allow us to get a wider view or to see the potential ways to measure stuff, no? To measure everything na gusto natin i-measure. Okay? So hopefully, nabigyan ko kayo ng mga idea na pwede nyo i-discover once you take your master's or your doctorate, no? So pwede nyo gawin yun. I think wala pang mga ganong iba. Wala pang mga urine meter. Yung lulubog mo lang lalabas na yung mga numbers. Ayan. So, pwede yan. Pwede nyo gamitin yung idea sa research. Okay? So, yan. So, ayan. So, kunwari, ito naman. Punta tayo sa example na to. Hindi ko siya kwento. This is this is a battery cell that is composed of a coin. So, may coin lang yan, tas may papel na may zinc solution. So, yung coin may copper, yung papel na may zinc solution. So, mangyari doon, yung zinc and yung copper sa coin, magkakaroon sila ng chemical reactions, and that chemical reaction can actually power the LED light. Okay? So, ganun lang nangyari dyan. So, yung may nangyari lang somewhere here, and may kuryente na lalabas. No? And yun yung i-discuss natin. No? Okay? And the applications in your field. Okay? So, yan. So, that is electrochemistry. Di ba? Parang ang ganda ng topic, no? Kasi medyo malawak yung mga pwede mo gawin dito. However, before we start with the actual electrochemistry, there is something that we need to emphasize muna, no? The knowledge about oxidation numbers, no? So bago tayo pumunta sa main topic, sa main dish, let us go with this muna. This is a review. Okay? So hindi to na-discuss, wait lang. Na-discuss to last semester. Ako nga pala yung gumawa ng PowerPoint dito. Okay. So this was discussed to you last semester, oxidation numbers. So I suppose that you know how to determine the oxidation number, but I assume na hindi nyo alam kasi nakalimutan na, kaya tuturo natin ulit. Okay? But again, this was discussed last semester. Okay? So when we say oxidation number, wag na muna tayo mag-electrochem. Dito muna tayo sa GenChem. Okay? So when we say oxidation numbers, this is the number or the charge of an atom if our electrons were completely transferred to it rather than shared, no? Meaning nun, di ba remember that sa isang chemical reaction, yung electrons ay shared, no? For example, CO, yan. So in this molecule, the electrons are shared in the form of chemical bonds, no? So, if you want to determine the oxidation number of these atoms, ang kailangan mo gawin is to transfer the electrons to the respective owners. No? Lalagay mo yung mga electrons sa dapat na tumanggap ng electrons. Okay? So, kunwari, itong carbon, oxygen, sino mas electronegative? Di oxygen. So, ibig sabihin, you transfer all the electrons to oxygen. So, mangyari, yung carbon, wala na siyang electron. Yung oxygen, kompleto yung 8 electrons. Okay? Ibig sabihin yan, the oxidation number of carbon is 4 and for oxygen is -2. But, I will not go into that details, no? Kasi medyo complicated kapag dinescribe natin siya using chemical bonds, no? Rather, we will just focus on the numbers na lang. Okay? But that is the idea. Ang gagawin natin, instead of using chemical bonds, no? Ang gagawin natin is that all the electrons will be transferred to the atoms, no? To the more electronegative atoms. Yun yung gagawin natin. Okay? So, pag na-transfer mo yun, you will get the charges of the atoms. Okay? So, yun lang yung idea sa oxidation numbers. Okay, so iba to sa formal charge, ha? Diba sa formal charge, kung naalala nyo pa, we break the bond, then we use the should minus have, or the formal charges minus ilang electrons na tira. Ayun. Iba yun sa formal charge, no? Ang oxidation number ay iba sa formal charge. Okay, so yan. So again, reviewin na lang natin to because you have an idea na rin naman dito last semester. Okay? So for us to determine the oxidation number of an atom, these are the following rules to be observed, no? Number 1, if an atom is in its elemental form, the oxidation number is 0. When we say elemental form, we are pertaining to chemical formulas with only one element and no charge, no? So yun yung meaning ng elemental form. We are pertaining to chemical formulas with only one element written and there is no charge, no? So let's have some examples. So for example, we have the metals, sodium, lithium, iron, copper. Okay. So all these are in elemental form. Okay? Kasi iisa lang yung formula nila. They don't have charges. Okay. And according to rule number 1, if that's the case, their oxidation number is 0. So 0 to, 0 to, 0 yan, 0 yan. Okay? If your atom is an elemental form, iisa yung atom, zero yung charges, ibig sabihin nun, elemental state yun. If our atom is in elemental state, the oxidation number is 0. Ano pa yung mga elemental state natin? The diatomics, for example, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, bromine. Okay? As you can see, yes, dalawa yung atom dyan, but iisang element yan. Okay? Dalawa atom, pero iisang element yan. Okay, so it means it is still, it is still elemental form. Okay? So ito ay elemental form, ito din, ito din, ito din. So ano napapansin nyo? Pag elemental form, iisa lang yung element plus, walang charge, yung formula. Okay? Saan mo malalaman yung charge? Dito sa top right corner. Pero wala tayong nakalagay sa top right corner, edi wala siyang charge. So elemental to, so that means oxygen here is 0, ang kanilang oxidation numbers as well. Sundan yan. Again, kapag elemental form, iisa lang yung element, no? Isa yung element, pero hindi necessarily isang atom lang. Pwedeng dalawa, pwedeng tatlo. Basta iisa lang yung element, no? Pwede itong O3, pwede itong O2, pwedeng O lang yan, no? So yan, elemental form yan. Okay, so when an atom is in elemental form, the oxidation number is automatically 0. And now, what if we have something like this? We have Na plus Cl minus. Is this still elemental form? No, this is no longer an elemental form. Rather, this is an ion. Specifically, this is monoatomic ion. Okay? So sabi natin kapag elemental form, iisa yung atom pero walang charge. This time, we have charge. May positive and negative na tayo eh. So hindi na to elemental form. This is monoatomic ion na. And what's the rule in determining the oxidation number of monoatomic ions? Number 2, for monoatomic ion, the oxidation number is the ion charge, no? Yan. Ayan, so yun na yung ion charge. Okay, so kung ano yung charge niya, yun na yun. Okay? For example, sodium, ano yung ion charge niya? The charge of the ion is 1. Okay? So, ibig sabihin niyan, the oxidation number is equal to 1 for sodium. How about chlorine? The oxidation number is equal to negative 1. You carry the negative sign, ha? Pag positive sign, you can write it as plus 1 or just simply 1. Okay lang yan. For negatives, you have to carry it. Ayan. Let's have some more examples. Let's say, copper. So what's the oxidation number of copper? Okay, so the charge is 2. That means the oxidation number is 2. For zinc, ganun din. The charge is 2. So that means the oxidation number is 2. For nitride ion, okay, for nitride ion, the charge is negative 3. So the oxidation number is negative 3. That is for monoatomic ions. I'd like to emphasize on that. Monoatomic ion. And now, Pag may hindi clear, message lang kayo, ha? And later on, we will walk through some examples naman. Now, what if we have this? Let's say, ayan. Ito. What if we have this stuff? Ayan. Wala na akong maisip eh. Okay na yun. What if we have this stuff? Are they considered monoatomic ions? Hindi na. Yes, they are ions, but they are not monoatomic. Bakit hindi siya monoatomic? Kasi hindi na isa yung atom eh. Ito, dalawa. Carbon, nitrogen. Ito, tatlo. I mean, apat yung atoms dito. Isang carbon, tatlong oxygen. Ito, apat, no? Isang nitrogen, tatlong oxygen. Ito, tatlo. Isang nitrogen, dalawang oxygen. Okay? So, mapapansin nyo, the charge is not, hindi mo na masasabi kung ano yung oxidation numbers nila. Alam mo lang yung charge, no? Okay? So, kasi hindi na to monoatomic eh. Di ba pag monoatomic, kung ano yung charge, yun na yun. Pero ito kasi dalawa eh. Dalawang atoms yung nagbibigay ng ganitong charge. So, ang gagawin natin? Okay, so anong gagawin natin? Ito, rule number 3. So, according to rule number 3, if you add up all the oxidation number of the atoms, ipag-add mo yung kanilang oxidation, that will give you the charge of the molecule. Ibig sabihin nun, in Tagalog, kung ano oxidation number neto plus oxidation number neto, pag pinag-add mo yon, you will get the charge. Kung ano oxidation number neto, ano oxidation number nun, pag pinag-add mo, you will get the charge. Same is true for the others. Okay. So, but it seems to us that parang dalawa yung missing, no? Wala to, wala to, wala to, wala to. Okay. So, ano gagawin mo? Okay. So, ganito. So, ito yung nakalagay sa baba. These are the rules for specific atoms and their corresponding charges. Okay? So, technically, hindi dalawa yung missing variable dito. Isa lang. Isa lang yung mawawala dito na variable. Okay? So, yan. So, ibig sabihin, yung carbon, yung nitrogen, pwede mo makita dito. Okay? So, pwede mo malaman dito yung kanilang oxidation number. Oxygen, ayan. Oxygen, ayan. So, andito sila. Pag wala dito, yun yung missing. Yun yung question mark na. Okay? So, ayan. Let's have some example. Siguro, let's have NH4. Okay. So, yan. We are asked to solve for the oxidation number of this nitrogen and the oxidation number of hydrogen. How are we going to do that? Just apply rule number 3 kasi this is polyatomic ion. So according to rule number 3, the sum of the oxidation number values for atoms in a polyatomic ion is equal to the ion charge. Ibig sabihin nun, pag pinag-add natin yung oxidation number netong nitrogen, pati ng hydrogen, pag pinag-add yon, equal yon sa positive 1, which is the charge. So let us write that in equation. So we have the oxidation number of nitrogen, oxidation number of hydrogen equals to positive 1. But take note that apat kasi yung hydrogen natin dito. Apat yun eh. So we need to multiply the oxidation of hydrogen by 4. The oxidation number of hydrogen by 4. Okay? Kung ano subscript, yun yung i-multiply doon. Yan. So ito yung sabi ng rule number 3. Pag pinag-add mo yung kanilang oxidation numbers, equal yon sa charge. This plus this equals 1. Okay? But since may subscripts ka, multiply mo yun doon. Now, ito yung tanong. Ano yung oxidation number neto? tingin tayo sa table. May nitrogen ba? Walang sinabi. Skip muna yan. How about hydrogen? Ayun, may sinabi for hydrogen. Ano sinabi for hydrogen? For hydrogen, the oxidation numbers could either be positive 1 or negative 1. Okay, so yan. Kailan magiging positive 1 ang oxidation number? If it is combined with non-metals. And the hydrogen will be negative 1 if it is combined with metals. So basically, all we have to know is sino yung kabanding ni hydrogen. Okay? Sino yung katabi niya? Is it metal or non-metal? Okay. So nitrogen is non-metal. So it means, according to this table, that hydrogen here will have an oxidation number equal to positive 1. Bakit? Kasi nga, ang katabi ni hydrogen ay nitrogen. And nitrogen is non-metal. So according to the table, if it is combined with non-metal, the oxidation number of hydrogen is positive 1. Okay? So with that, I can solve for the oxidation number of nitrogen. Okay? So, yan. So plug in ko lang 4 wait lang, gulo. Yan. So this will be 4 times positive 1 equals positive 1. Okay? So hanapin ko na lang yung kay nitrogen. So this will be, lipat ko yun sa kabila. So I will get 1 minus 4. And the oxidation number of nitrogen will be negative 3. So that means the oxidation number of nitrogen is negative 3 and the oxidation number of hydrogen is positive 1. Ganon. Yun lang gagawin niya. Okay? So if you have a polyatomic ion, instead of them missing, yung dalawa yung nawawala, yung isa doon, pwede mo makita dito sa table. Tingin ka lang sa table. For example, hydrogen, may sinabi dito, basa. It could be positive or negative. Positive siya kapag non-metal katabi. Negative kapag kapag metals yung katabi. In our case, yung hydrogen katabi ay nitrogen. So non-metal yun. So we will get the positive 1. Ayun na siya. Then since wala din sinabi about nitrogen dito, edi yun yung isa-solve mo. Okay? Using simple algebra. Okay? I hope you remember this, no? Diniscuss to sa chemical reactions, no? Chapter 4, Inorg Org Chem. Ako kasi gumawa ng PowerPoint na yun. Kaya naaalala ko siya. Let's have some more examples. Yan. Ano pa kaya? Ito, dito na tayo. Dito na tayo. Ay, hindi, wag muna. Dito muna. Practice pa tayo. Okay. So this one, we have the formula for glucose, which is C6H12O6. Identify the oxidation numbers of each elements. Ay, hindi. Masyadong malaki yung molecule eh. Liitan natin. Ano na lang? Methanol. Ito na lang. Para mas maliit. Methanol. So, identify the oxidation numbers of each element for methanol. Okay. So, balik ulit tayo sa general rule. Is this elemental form? Hindi. Ang daming atoms eh. Daming elements. So, hindi yan elemental form. Is this monoatomic ion? Hindi rin. Kasi kapag monoatomic ion, isa lang dapat yung atom. I mean, isa lang yung element tapos may charge. No? Kaya nga monoatomic eh. Ibig sabihin, rule number 3 tayo. Okay? Yung rule number 3, dalawa yan. Yung kanina yung na-explain natin. Yung kapag ion. If you have a polyatomic ion, pag pinag-add mo yung kanilang oxidation number, equal yon sa ion charge, di ba? Na-demonstrate ko na yung kanina. Okay? Ngayon, let us demonstrate the other part of the sentence for number 3. Basahin natin maigi. The sum of the oxidation number values for atom in a molecule or formula unit of a compound equals 0. Ibig sabihin nun, kapag wala kang polyatomic ion, meron ka lang molecule. When you say molecule, maraming atoms, no? Pero walang charge. For example, ito, methanol. So, if you add all the oxidation numbers of this, equal daw yan sa 0. Okay? Hindi to polyatomic ion eh. So, wala tong charge, no? So, 0 to. Pag pinag-add natin lahat ng oxidation numbers. So, meaning to say, if we write that in equation, oxidation number ni carbon plus oxidation number ni hydrogen plus oxidation number ni oxygen equal yan sa 0 lahat. Pag pinag-add-add natin yan. Okay? But take note, may mga coefficients tayo. Ay, may mga subscript tayo, so include mo yun doon. Isa lang yung carbon, so 1 lang yan. Hindi ko na isusulat. 4 yung hydrogen, 3, 1. Okay, so 4 times 4 yan. Then for oxygen, isa lang yung oxygen. So, hindi ko na isusulat yung 1. Okay, now this is the question. 3 yung oxidation numbers na nawawala. Pwede ba yon? Siyempre hindi. Hindi ka makakasagot kung wala ka nito, wala ka nito, wala ka nito, wala ka nun. So, in order for us to determine the other oxidation numbers, we will refer to this table. Tingin tayo, baka may sinabi naman about dito. Okay? So, let's use hydrogen ulit, no? So, tingin ulit tayo, baka may sinabi about hydrogen. Kasi may hydrogen dun eh. Ayan. For hydrogen, plus 1 yan kapag non-metal yung katabi. Negative 1 kapag metal ang katabi. Sino katabi ni hydrogen? Ang carbon ba ay metal? Hindi. So, non-metal yung carbon. Ang oxygen ba ay metal? Hindi rin. Ibig sabihin, ang oxidation number ni hydrogen ay positive 1. Kasi ang katabi niya ay non-metals. Okay? So, that's according to this table. Ano pa? May sinabi ba about carbon? Wala. Okay, so ibig sabihin yun yung susolve natin mamaya. How about oxygen? Ito, oxygen. Ang sabi dyan sa oxygen. Dalawa yung sinabi. Let me highlight that in different colors. Okay. So, according to this table, oxygen is negative 1 in peroxide and negative 2 in all other compounds. No? Tanong, ano yung peroxide? Ano yung itsura ng peroxide? Ang itsura ng peroxide ay ganito. O kaya, ganito. Yan. If you have two oxygens connected directly to each other, peroxide yun. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, kapag may oxygen at may oxygen na magkatabi in a Lewis structure, peroxide yun. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ano yung minor requirement para magkaroon ng peroxide? Kailangan at least may dalawa kang oxygen para masabi mong pwedeng may peroxide doon. But again, hindi porket more than 2 yung oxygens mo ay peroxide agad yon, no? Kasi may chance na baka may peroxide doon. Pero it doesn't mean na peroxide agad yon. Okay? May chance, pero hindi always. Okay. So ano yung magiging natin dito? Ano yung magiging solution natin? So if you want to determine if a peroxide exists, no? Pag may peroxide dyan na nag-e-exist, anong gagawin mo? Mag-Lewis structure ka. Okay? But I will not go into that, no? Hindi na ako magda-dive into those details because that was discussed last semester. So actually, I will allow you to use Google na lang. Okay? Google nyo na lang what is the structure of this one. But again, may battery exam kayo, kasama na yung kasama na yung chemistry sa battery exam, kaya please review all those lessons now. And don't worry, by June, July, since wala kayong pasok, wala rin akong pasok bali nun. So, walang work. Okay. So, sa June, July, maging full-time vlogger ako sa YouTube. Gagawa na ako ng short lessons. Parang hindi na 1 hour yung papanoorin nyo. 5 minutes na lang. Ganun gagawin ko. Anyway, so yun yung project ko next month. Next month. Okay. So anyway, so yun nga. If you want to determine if there is a peroxide, you have to check if may oxygen na magkatabi. Okay? Pero kung walang oxygen na magkatabi, walang magkadugtong na oxygens, edi wala kang peroxide. Okay? So in our molecule, the Lewis structure is this. Yan. So dun sa gagawin kong future videos sa YouTube, mga short clips, tuturo din ako ng mga ganito. Okay? Mabenta kasi yung iba kong video dun eh. May mga foreigner na nagko-comment. Sayang. Tsaka pwede na ako mag-monetize. Kaya yun. Gagawa talaga ako nun. Anyway. So yan. Mapapansin mo, wala kang peroxide dito. Kasi the oxygen is not bonded to the other oxygen. Ang meron lang tayo, CO pati OH. So hindi yan peroxide. Ibig sabihin, the oxygen is not peroxide. So we will use the oxidation number equal to -2. Okay? So, ganun. Again, if you want to check the peroxides, tignan mo Lewis structure. Okay? So, yan. So, we now know the hydrogen. We now know the oxygen. Ngayon, let's solve for the carbon. Kasi walang sinabi yung table eh. Di, no choice. Okay? So, let's solve for that. So, we have ONC. Gawin na lang nating X yan. Let natin to as X. Oopsie. Ayan. So, we have X plus 4 times +1 plus -2. Minus 2 na lang natin. Equals 0. X is equals to, hindi ko muna itatranspose. Plus 4 minus 2 equals 0. 4 minus 2 is 2. X plus 2 equals 0. So X is equals to -2. Okay. So we just found out that the oxidation number for carbon is -2 using algebra. Okay. You can use ship solve. No? Okay. So in summary, the oxidation number of carbon is -2. The oxidation number of hydrogen is +1. And the oxidation number of oxygen is -2. Ayun. Nasundan naman ba? Let me know kapag may hindi nasundan na. Okay lang yun. Tanong nyo agad sa akin kapag may question in mind. Okay? Ganun lang. Let's proceed. So we have 10 questions here. I will not answer all of them because I will leave some for you to practice. Okay? So onti lang sasagutan ko. Specifically this one. This one. This one. This one. So yung 4 na lang sasagutan ko. Then hindi, dagdag na natin ito din. Ayan. Ayan, 5. So I'm going to answer these 5 questions. So please please take note of yung ginagawa ko. Okay? Para masundan. And I hope that you are also working on your desk when I am solving problems like this. Okay, so for items 1 to 7, we actually have ionic compounds here. Okay, so ionic compounds yan. And we know that ionic compounds are composed of ions. Now we have the cations and the anions. Okay, so important yon mamaya kaya sinabi ko. Let's have this one, iron 3 nitrate. Okay. Anong pwede dito? Pwede mo gawin ganito. Ito, tinanong to ng student ko kanina. Sir, pwede ba ganito? Di ba pag pinag-add mo po yung ano niyan, pag pinag-add mo po yung kanilang mga oxidation numbers, equal yun sa charge ng molecule. This time, the charge of the molecule is 0 kasi walang nakalagay dito. Okay? Pag walang nakalagay doon, 0 yun. Okay? So, ibig sabihin ba nun, sir, pwede ganito? ONFe plus 3 times ON ng nitrogen plus 9 times ON ng oxygen equals 0. Bakit naging 3? Ba't nag-9? Itong subscript dinistribute ko doon. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. Ayan. Sabi niya kanina, pwede ba to, sir? Sagot, pwede. Pero anong problema? Anong problema mo? Ang problema natin dito is ito. Walang sinabi sa table about this. And yung nitrogen, wala ring sinabi sa table. Ang meron lang kay oxygen eh. Yun yung problema. Okay, so yun yung problema natin. Dalawa yung unknown. So, ibig sabihin, mahirap i-solve yan. Okay, so ano yung gagawin niya? Instead of doing this, ganito gagawin niya. So, take note ha. If you have ionic compounds, remember, you can separate that into ions. Okay? So, ang ionic compound nyo, paghiwalayin nyo yung ions. Yun yung gagawin natin. Okay? So, how do we separate the ions? No? You do the reverse crisscross. Naalala pa ba yung reverse crisscross natin? I think iba yung turo kapag hindi ko estudyante, pero yung mga student ko before, alam nyo yan, reverse crisscross. alam nila yan. No? So, yung tawag ko doon. I don't know if ano tawag ng ibang teacher doon, pero I call it reverse crisscross. Bakit? Di ba kapag crisscross, you have the charges, binababa mo siya as subscript. If you do the reverse crisscross, baliktad. You have the subscripts, gagawin mo siyang charges. Yan yung gagawin natin para malaman natin yung oxidation numbers easily. So let's do that, reverse crisscross. Okay. Etong iron may 1 doon. Pag may 1, hindi sinusulat, di ba? Pero may 1 doon. Okay. So we have 1 subscript for Fe and 3 subscript for the nitrate ion, which is a polyatomic anion. Question, saan galing yung 3? Kay iron. Kasi nga, crisscross, di ba? Magkabaliktaran yan. So, kung andito yan, ibig sabihin, dun yung galing. Kasi ito, dun yung galing. Reverse crisscross. So, dun yung galing yung 3. Yung 1 dito galing. Reverse crisscross. From subscript to charge. Ang crisscross from charge to subscript, di ba? Remember that? Dapat naaalala. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yan, the iron has a charge of 3. Positive o negative? Malamang positive yon. Bakit? Iron is a metal. Okay? Metal kasi yon. And since positive to, that means automatically negative yung kabila. Okay? So by doing the reverse crisscross, the ionic compound can be reduced to this. Okay? Ngayon, sa tingin nyo, mas madali na mag-solve ng oxidation numbers? Yes. Bakit? Kasi tingnan mo yung iron. Di ba wala yan sa table? But looking at this is a monoatomic ion na. So we know, positive 3 yung oxidation number niya. Di ba? Mas madali. Okay? So ganun, if you have ionic compound, you do the reverse crisscross so that you will know the charges of your cation and the anion. Okay? So by doing that, you can now determine the uh, oxidation number of individual elements. It will be easier kaysa sa kanina na dalawa yung missing variable natin. And now, so for iron, automatically ang oxidation number niya ay positive 3 because this is a monoatomic ion. So whatever the charge of it is the oxidation number. May isang point na tayo. How about nitrate? Nitrate is a polyatomic ion. Okay? So, ang gagawin natin, dito na natin gagamitin yung formula sa rule number 3, di ba? Ano sabi sa rule number 3? Pag pinag-add natin yung oxidation numbers ng elements, equal yun sa charge. Doon na natin to gagamitin. Kasi hindi mo na yan pwede i-reverse crisscross pa. Wag mag-enjoy. Isang beses lang ginagawa yung reverse crisscross, ha? Okay, so let's do that. So for nitrate ion, we can write that the oxidation number of nitrogen, umuulan sa amin, I don't know sa inyo, pero pag humina yung internet nyo, okay lang naman. Buti umulan, ang init dito eh. Anyway, so if we convert this formula in terms of oxidation numbers, we will write this, no? Oxidation number of nitrogen plus 3 oxidation number ni oxygen equal to -1. Again, but may 3 doon kasi may subscript. So, 3 times mo yan. Now, of the two, sino yung sinabi sa table? Si oxygen. Walang sinabi about nitrogen eh. Balikan natin. Walang nitrogen, no? Oxygen lang eh. So, tingin tayo kay oxygen. Oxygen, -1 if peroxide, -2 kapag all other compounds. Okay? The question here is that, are the oxygens peroxide or not? Ibig sabihin nun, yung oxygen ba natin, pare sila bonded or hindi? So, to answer that, tingnan natin yung Lewis structure. Okay? So, let's look at the Lewis structure of NO3. Ito yan. So, this is the Lewis structure of NO3. Okay? Let me write the lone pairs. Ayan. So, that's the structure of NO3. May nakikita ba kayong oxygen bonded to another oxygen? Wala. Kasi kapag peroxide, kailangan magkadugtong sila. Okay? Then, nakadugtong pa sila sa iba. This time, ang oxygens natin, bonded lahat sila with nitrogen. Ibig sabihin, wala tayong oxygen-oxygen bond. Ang meron lang, oxygen-nitrogen. That means, wala tayong peroxide. Okay? Wala tayong peroxide. So, ibig sabihin nun, oxygen is -2. Okay? Walang peroxide. Pero kung may nakita kayong ganito, peroxide yon. Okay? So, yan. Let me erase this na. And so, we just knew that oxygen is not a peroxide. Therefore, it will have an oxidation number of -2. And now, we can solve for this. Gawin nating x yan. Equals -1. So, x minus 6 equals -1. Transpose sa kabila, 6 minus 1. So, this is 5. We just determined that the oxidation number of nitrogen is +5. So, in summary, the oxidation number of but may carbon. The oxidation number of nitrogen of iron is +3. Oxidation number of nitrogen is +5, and the oxidation number of oxygen is -2. You just apply all the all the conditions stated in the table previously. Sabihin pag hindi na-gets okay lang naman na. Tanungin niyo kapag may problem. Pag nasundan naman, then good, no? But if not, okay lang magtanong. Hindi naman ako tulad ng iba na magagalit pag nagkamali. Ako nga nagkakamali eh. Kayo pa kaya, 'di ba? So ganun talaga. We are humans. Okay. Yeah, yan. We are prone to errors always. Mahalaga na kung correct natin. Okay? So ayan. So we are okay with number 1. How about number 4? Same process then. Let me show you. I will erase the writings on the board. Ayan. Okay. So ayan, wala na. So let's proceed. Calcium hypochlorite or CaClO. Okay? Yan. Calcium hypochlorite. Calcium hypochlorite. Okay? Okay. Now, again, you can write this, no? Pwede ganito. Pwede ganyan. However, sabi ko nga, di mo alam to. Di mo alam to. Ito, okay. So, gagawin mo, pag ionic compound, split mo sila into cations and anions. Okay? Para mas madali. Okay? So, let me just write that. Itong 2, saan galing to? O yung 1, papakita ko. 2, saan galing yan kay calcium. Yung 1 kay hypochlorite ion. So, just do the reverse crisscross. Okay? Since calcium is a metal, positive 2 yan. That means yung kabila ay negative 1. So, we have Ca2 plus and ClO minus. Ayan. Or using rule number 2, we know that the oxidation number of calcium is equal to positive 2 na. Ano to? Rule number 2. Okay? Ayan. May 1 point na tayo. Ito na lang problema mo. Diba? Bilis, no? How about this one? So, we will apply rule number 3 for this one. Okay? So, let me write it here. Ay, oops. Mali. Ayan. ClO. So, what's the equation? If we add the oxidation numbers, that's equal to the charge. So, sabi doon, oxidation number Cl, oxidation number oxygen, equal yan sa charge. In our case, that is negative 1. Okay? Of the 2, sino yung given? Ang given ay, tingin tayo sa table. Meron tayo ay Cl, pati O. Okay? Cl is halide. Okay? So, group 7 yon sa Cl. Basahin natin. Negative 1. In combination with metal, non-metal, except oxygen. Emphasize ko yung except. Emphasize ko yan. Bakit? Sino yung katabi ni Cl natin? Oxygen. Ay, sabihin dito gagana. Okay? Yung ganun. Look very carefully sa mga keywords like except. Okay? Ibig sabihin nun, this rule will hold true if ang bond niya ay ito, except oxygen. Kasi kapag oxygen yung katabi niya, iba yung oxidation number niya. So, you cannot use this, no? Hindi mo masasabi na negative 1 to. Mali yun. Kasi according to the rule, exception si oxygen. So, we can say that Cl is unknown. Okay? So, ganun yung gagawin natin. Oxygen, sinabi na naman dyan, -1 or -2 lang yan. Cl yung katabi natin, so basically dito peroxide, so -2 to. Okay? So that's how you interpret the table. Let's go back here. So we know that oxygen is -2 and yung ONCl ay hindi siya -1 kasi exemption si oxygen sa rule. Okay? So yan. Lipat mo lang yung 2 sa kabilang side. 2 minus 1. Positive 1. Okay? So in summary, the oxidation number of calcium is positive 2. For Cl, that is positive 1. For oxygen, that is negative 2. O, kayo naman muna. I want you to try this. No? Bigyan ko kayo few minutes. No? Okay. I'll give you 5 minutes to work on this. Then, sagutan natin. Take note that these two compounds are ionic. So, you can do reverse crisscross dyan. But be careful with polyatomic ions. Okay, so for this case, this one is a polyatomic ion. Dichromate ion yan. Okay. So, hindi yung 7 yung i-crisscross mo. No? Wala kang i-crisscross. Kasi baka mamaya yung 7 nilagay nyo dun. No? Mali yun. Okay. Polyatomic ion yun. So, wala kang i-crisscross pag ganun. Okay? Kasi walang number outside the parenthesis. No? Okay. So, 1. Sige, so I want you to work on this for the meanwhile. Dahil nauuhaw ako. Okay. So, sagot muna kayo. Bigyan ko na rin kayo ng time to go for a CR break or, inom kayo tubig. No? Ayan. So, I'll be back. No? In, let's say, sagutan nyo na rin to. Then, sasagutan ko siya. Tuloy-tuloy. Okay? So, siguro mga 5 minutes. No? 5 minutes. I'll be back. So, I expect na by 5 minutes, tapos nyo na to. And ito, ongoing kayo. Okay? So, yan. So, I'll be back, no? So, 5 minutes tayo. I'm not really sure kung 5 minutes na, no? Okay. Anyway, so I assume naman that you're answering right now. Okay. So I think you're done with 5. So you can comment your answer na sa 5 and let's check if that's correct na. Okay. Okay, so si Levin may answer na for 5. Let's check. Okay, so 5 is a very easy problem. Kasi ano yan eh, aluminum oxide yan eh. You can do reverse crisscross na. Okay? Reverse crisscross lang to, easy. So aluminum is the cation. Oxygen is the anion. So our ions here are Al3 plus and oxygen minus 2. Okay, so that is the answer. The oxidation number of aluminum is positive 3. And for oxygen, the oxidation number is negative 2. Very easy. Okay. And so that's the answer for number 5. Okay, so 11 is correct. Bilis ah. Okay. I hope yung iba din tama yung sagot ha. Madali lang yung 5. How about 7? For 7, we have potassium dichromate. This is an orange powder. Kulay orange 'yan. Para siyang tang na orange, no. But cancerous 'yan. Pag uminom ka niyan, cancer ka kaagad, patay ka agad. Okay. So 'yan. This is actually one of the inspiration of the movie Erin Brockovich. Familiar kayo doon, Erin Brockovich. Panoorin niyo 'to. Erin Brockovich. Kasi wala namang pasok sa May 1, holiday yan. So please watch this movie, Erin Brockovich. Tinotorrent ko lang yan. I think nasa Netflix din ata siya. So according to Erin Brockovich, this is a story of a woman who was an advocate. I think until now advocate pa rin naman siya. So she challenged a company that is disposing chromium 6, no? Okay, so tama yung answer na chromium 6 plus. So she challenged a big industry that disposes chromium 6 plus in the environment. Ano yung resulta? In their community, may nagkasakit ng cancer, merong mga stillbirth, no? Yung mga miscarriages din, dumami yung ganong cases due to chromium poisoning. So yan. Nanalo siya, no? She was just a simple woman. Actually, di siya lawyer. Lang siya, palaban lang talaga, no? So yan. Very inspiring, no? That means that if kaya niya labanan ang big companies, then we should also do our part to go against them, no? Especially if they are harming the environment, no? But anyway, so going back to our lesson, share ko lang yan. So this is Ionic Compound. Okay, so this is Ionic Compound. So we can split this into cation and an ion. So again, I just emphasized earlier that Cr2O7 is a polyatomic anion. Okay, so you treat it with the parenthesis outside. Okay, so hindi yung 7 yung i-cross multiply mo doon, no? Whatever outside the parenthesis is. In our case, 1. Kasi wala naman nakalagay sa parenthesis sa labas na. Okay? So, ganun. So, this 2 will be transferred to this. And yung 1 will transfer doon. So, our ions will be K plus and Cr2O7 negative 2. Okay? So, Cr2. Let me rewrite it. Cr2O7 negative 2. Ayan, using rule number 2, we know that the oxidation number of potassium is positive 1 na. Now, let's look for chromium and oxygen. Okay. So, for chromium and oxygen, so we have Cr2O7 negative 2. So, we can write the equation as 2 oxidation number ni chromium plus 7 oxidation number ni oxygen equals -2. Alam na siguro kung paano to ginagawa, no? So, yung subscript multiply sa oxidation number. So, 2 times this, 7 times this, equal yon dito. Now, si chromium ba nasa table? Wala. Okay, wala siya sa table. Ibig sabihin yun yung isosolve natin. But oxygen, nasa table yan si oxygen. However, kung titignan nyo, ang daming oxygens, no? 7. So, there is a chance na baka may peroxide tayo. To confirm that, alamin natin yung Lewis structure ng dichromate. Pwede nyo yun i-google. Okay? Pwede nyo i-google. Huwag na kayo mag-Lewis structure. Google nyo na lang. Pero dapat alam kung paano kinukuha yun. And this is and ito yung itsura nun. Okay? If you draw the correct Lewis structure, this is the structure for dichromate ion. Oopsie. Okay, so ayan, that is the structure for dichromate ion, Cr2O7. May nakikita ba kayong oxygen bonded to oxygen? Wala, no? All the oxygens are bonded to chromium. This. Lahat sila bonded to chromium. Ibig sabihin, we don't have any peroxide, meaning oxygen is -2. Okay, so ganun. You always have to confirm the structure. Pero ako, to be honest with you, hindi ko na kino-confirm. Okay. Kasi nauumay na ako dito sa lesson na to. Ilang years na ako nag-aaral nito. Julit, ano na, lahat na. Ginulit-julit na. Sabi nga nila ulit-ulit, nakasawa. Ayan. So this is 2x na lang. I will let this as x. 7 times -2, -2. Let us solve for x. It's -14. 2x equals -2. Lipat yun to sa kabila. So you have 2x equals 14 minus 2. 2x equals to 12. Divided by 2x is 6. Yan. So we just determine that chromium is +6 and oxygen is -2. Okay? So you should arrive with this answer. Ayun. So tama. Good. Last one. Dali lang, no? Tapos pagdating ng exam bulaga, diba? Saya-saya ng anak no? Hanggang babasa ko nga mga concerns niya sa Facebook First sem, ang taas ng grade. Pagdating second sem, bawi-bawi na lang. Okay lang. Mahirap kasi talaga yung subject na to. Kaya, ganun talaga. Pasensya na, guys. Pero kaya nyo naman. Nakaka-perfect na Ibig sabihin, kayang-kaya. Let's have number 8. This is CO2. Okay, the correct Lewis structure is this one. Bakit important yung Lewis structure? Kasi nga, baka mamaya may peroxide dyan. Okay, and in our case, wala. Okay, so the oxygen is automatically -2 here. Okay, so rule number 3 tayo. Oxidation number of carbon plus 2 oxidation number ng oxygen equal 0. Okay, so walang charge yung CO2. So 0 na yun. Baka yung isipin ng iba sa inyo, sir, pwede ba i-criss-cross? Hindi. Hindi pwede i-criss-cross. Bakit? Hindi naman to metal Parehas yan non-metal. So you only do the reverse criss-cross if ionic compound yan. This is covalent compound. Wala kasing metal. So you don't do the reverse criss-cross. Okay? So ganun lang. So wala tayong reverse criss-cross na gagawin. So we just knew that oxygen is not a peroxide here. So that means -2 yan. Then si carbon, dissolve natin. Walang sinabi This is -4. Okay, oxidation number carbon is 4 positive. Okay. And the oxidation number of oxygen is -2 kasi hindi siya peroxide. Okay. Then, yun na yun. Easy, di ba? Easy. Okay. So, ngayon, balik na ulit tayo sa main topic. Wala pa tayo sa main topic, guys. Intro pa lang to. Nasa slide number 5 pa lang tayo eh. So, punta na tayo sa main topic. Ano yung importance ng oxidation numbers? Okay. Kasi ganito. In redox reactions, may kinalaman yung oxidation number. Okay? Okay. And kapag alam mo yung oxidation number, you can determine what type of reaction happened. Okay? So, let's now go back to our main topic. So, hindi main topic yung diniscuss ko kanina. Review lang yun. Ngayon, main topic na. Okay. So, let's talk about redox reaction. This was described also last time. Okay. Nakwentuhan na to last time. Last semester. Okay. So, when you say redox reaction, this is oxidation, reduction, reaction. Saan galing yung redox dyan? Yung red kay reduction, yung ox kay oxidation. Redox, no? Redox. Reduction, oxidation, reaction. What are these? No? These are sets of reaction that happen simultaneously. Sabay ito nangyayari. Ibig sabihin, pag nangyari yung reduction reaction, mangyayari yung oxidation reaction. So, twinny sila, no? Kambal sila na reaction. And what happens in those two twin reactions? What happens is that the electrons are being transferred. Yung electrons tina-transfer. Okay? So, one reaction will give the electron, the other will accept the electron. Okay? So, anong reaction yung namimigay ng electron? Yung mayaman. The reduction reaction. So, the reduction reactions are reactions where electrons are gained by the species. No? I mean, ito yung tumatanggap na, sorry. So, reduction reaction, ito yung mga tumatanggap ng electron. Kumbaga sila yung yung tumatanggap ng ayuda na electron. Okay? Kailangan nila yung electron para mag-reduction reaction sila. Yung namimigay naman, okay? Yun yung mga oxidation. Ito yung mga mayayaman. Ito yung mga mayayaman sa electron. So, oxidation reactions are reactions where electrons are given off by the species. May mamimigay, may tatanggap. And that happens at the same time. Di ba ganun din naman, kunwari, manghihingi tayo baon sa magulang natin. Parang redox reaction yon. Si mama mo, papa mo, lolo, lola, kapatid, no? Tito, tita, bibigyan ka nila ng baon. Ito, 500. Yaman. Ayun, 500 sa'yo yan. So, redox reaction yan. Ako nawalan, kunwari ako yung kamag-anak nyo, bigyan ko kayo 500. So, pag nagbigay ako sa inyo 500, I lost 500. Ako yung nag-give off ng 500. Kayo tumanggap ng 500. Ibig sabihin nun, ako yung oxidized, kayo yung reduced. Okay? So, ako yung nag-oxidize. Ako yung nagbigay ng 500. Tapos kayo yung tumanggap. So, reduction kayo. Okay? So, that's one way to think. That's one way to think of this, no? In common sense. No? So, ganun lang. Kung sino mamimigay, siya yung oxidation. Sino yung tumatanggap, siya yung reduction. Ano yung pinapamigay nila? Electrons. So, paano nag-i-exist yung battery dito? Discuss natin yung next meeting. Okay? So, ano yan? Pag pinamigay nila yung electron, pag pinamigay, tinanggap, yung electron na yun, magta-travel yun. And when electron travels, kuryente happens. Okay? So, yung Meralco natin, yung passing electrons lang yan. Okay? So, yun. When electron travels, doon nagkakakuryente. Kaya gumagana yung ating mga devices. Okay? So, yeah. So, to simplify this, we can use mnemonic devices. Mnemonics are, parang visual cues, no? It could be pictures or shortened words, no? So, this is the mnemonic for redox. Oil rig. When you say oil rig, oxidation is losing. Reduction is gaining. Okay? Reduction is gaining. Oxidation is losing. Okay? So, yan. Wait lang. Anyway, yan. Nagtanong si mama ng merienda. Okay, so yun. Oxidation is losing, reduction is gaining. Oil rig na. Sana oil rig. So, ganun lang. Let me write that. Oxidation is losing, reduction is gaining. Naalala pa yan siguro, no? Last semester yan eh. Ano yung nilulose? Ano yung ginigain? Electrons. Okay? So, keep in mind, electrons yung pinapamigay at tinatanggap, no? Hindi pera. Okay? So, another mnemonic is the Leora Geroa. Okay? Parang pangalan siya, no? So, Leora Geroa is similar to this. Okay? So, let me expand that. Leora. Wait lang. Kulang ata sa space pag dyan ako nag-start. Losing electron oxidation, reducing agent. Gaining electron reduction oxidizing agent. Yan. So, yan si Leora Geroa. Pag nagkaanak kayo, yung isa pangalan mo, o Leora, yung isa Geroa. Ang corny, no? Pero yan, pagkambal. Yan. Parang nerd, no? Ayan. Tapos pag naging estudyante kayo, no, perfect na agad yun sa, sa exam. Kasi ganun yung pangalan niya. Okay. So anyway, so Leora Geroa is similar with this one. No? Losing electron oxidation. Ayun din yun. Losing electron oxidation. Geroa, gaining electron reduction. Pero may additional tayo na terms. We have the Ra, or the reducing agent. And we have the OA, the oxidizing agent. Okay? Ano babansin nyo? Baliktad, no? Parang baliktad. Kasi oxidation to, ba't siya naging reducing agent? Ito, reduction, ba't siya naging oxidizing agent? Ganito lang. Ang idea dito is, ganito. Since siya yung oxidation, siya yung agent for the reduction reaction to occur. Siya yung tutulong para mangyari to. Okay? So, para siya yung reducing, kunwari kayo, kukuha kayo ng insurance sa akin. So, parang ako yung agent, no? Insurance agent, no? Ako yung tutulong sa inyo magkaroon ng insurance. Ganon din dito. Ganon din si oxidation. Siya yung tutulong sa inyo para ma-reduce kayo. Okay? Kaya baliktad yung tawag na. So, baka isipin nyo, pag oxidation, oxidizing agent, no? Baliktad. Kung sino yung tutulungan niya, yun yung pangalan niya. Okay. Ako na rin, sales agent ako. So, sa tingin nyo, ano ginagawa ko? Tumutulong sa sales. Ako yung nagbebenta. Okay? Okay, so ganun. Sa oxidation, siya yung tumutulong sa reduction. Okay? So, siya yung reducing agent. Pag sales agent, ganun din. Diba? Ikaw yung mga tumutulong sa mga bumibili. No? Ikaw yung mga nagbebenta. Okay? Financial advisor, mga agents, ayan. Ano pa ba? Kunwari, St. Peter, yung mga agent doon, mga ahente, ayan, insurance agents. No? So, ganun. Ganun din dito kay reduction. Oxidizing agent siya. Kasi, tinutulungan niya yung oxidation reaction. Okay? So, kumbaga, ito yung sales agent, ito yung nagbebenta, ito yung bumibili. Buying agent. Parang ganun. Basta yun yung idea, ha? Nagkasalungat sila, baka malito eh. Basta isipin nyo lang kung sino yung tinutulungan nila, yun yung pangalan nila as an agent, no? Okay? So, yan. So, that's Leora Geroa. Okay, so let's look at some examples here. We have zinc reacting with acid to produce zinc ion and hydrogen gas. Okay, so if you have a zinc metal, you drop it in a solution of muriatic acid, which is HCl. Okay, pag nilublog mo yan sa muriatic acid, bubula yun ng hydrogen gas. Okay, so dito gagamit yung knowledge natin ng oxidation numbers because by just looking at the oxidation numbers of the atoms involved in a chemical reaction, you can see, you can check, no, kung sino yung reduced, sino yung oxidized, sino yung reducing agent, sino yung oxidizing agent. Okay? By just looking at the oxidation numbers. Okay? So, ganun. Bago pala tayo pumunta dyan, teka lang, balik ulit tayo. Kalimutan ko sabihin. What will happen to the oxidation number if nag-undergo yan ng oxidation? Okay. Maglalabas ng electron yan. Okay. Okay. So, ibig sabihin, mas magiging positive siya. Because remember, yung electrons ay negative, di ba? Pag siya ay naglabas ng negativity, pag naglabas siya ng electrons, ibig sabihin, mas magiging positive siya. Okay? So, isipin nyo yung oxidation, parang nagdi-detox yan. Maglalabas siya ng negativity para siya ay maging positive. So, yun yung idea dyan. So, meaning, if your reaction underwent oxidation reaction, the oxidation number will increase. Okay? It will lose negativity. Okay? So, mas magiging positive siya. Okay? So, yan. So, tataas yung oxidation number niya. Pero kapag yung ano naman, reduction reaction, pag siya yung nag-gain ng negativity, pagkabukas niya pa lang ng FB, ng Twitter, nakita niya agad yung mga balita, mga nangyayari sa Pilipinas. Ayan, negativity yun. Feel mo yun. What will happen? Madadown ka. So, yun. Bababa yung oxidation number mo. So, ganun. So, if you lose negativity, you lose electrons, your oxidation number will increase. Ibig sabihin, mas magiging positive. If ikaw naman tumanggap ka ng electrons or tumanggap ka ng negativity, yung oxidation number will decrease na. Masasad ka or bababa yung number mo. Okay? So, yun yung idea. Okay, so going back here, with that in mind, no. So, let's try to identify sino yung reduction, sino yung oxidation. Okay? So, tingin tayo. Sa zinc, we started from 0, naging positive 2. Ano nangyari? Tumaas yung kanyang oxidation number. And whenever you increase in oxidation number, meaning yan, ikaw ay nag-undergo ng oxidation. Okay? So yan, ganun lang. Tignan mo, sino yung tumaas yung oxidation number? Si zinc. So, ibig sabihin, oxidation siya. Meaning nun, automatically din, yung kabilang atom, hydrogen, kung yun ay oxidation, ito yung reduction. So, what happened? Yung oxidation number ay bumaba. From positive 1, naging 0. Okay? So, that's the trend that we are going to look for sa redox reaction. Pag nakita mo umakyat yung oxidation number, oxidation reaction yun. Nakita mo bumaba yung reduction, bumaba yung oxidation number, reduction yun. Okay? Ganun lang. Now, let's look at some examples. Ayan. Para makarelate, mamaya meron na ito sa quiz. Which is marami na ito sa quiz. The following reactions are considered redox. Actually, hindi sila talaga, no? Hindi talaga sila redox. Lahat. Identify the reducing and the oxidizing agent. Alamin natin kung redox ba sila. Kasi meron ditong impostor. Okay. Sino kaya? Isa-isahin natin, syempre. So, let's focus on on the first equation. We have aluminum plus sulfuric acid producing aluminum sulfate and hydrogen gas. Okay. So, ako, gagawin ko, which is gagawin nyo rin, aalamin nyo yung oxidation numbers. Okay? But this time, i-mental ko na lang. Okay, so that means I will leave that to you to work on. Tignan mo lahat ng oxidation number ng atoms. So, iwan ko na sa inyo as an activity how to determine all their oxidation numbers, but I will give the answer. Okay. So, ito ay 0, rule number 1. Hydrogen is bonded with non-metals, so this is positive 1. Okay. So, ibig sabihin nyo, I have sulfate ion here. Ang tawag dito. Hindi siya peroxide, so negative 2 yan. So, negative 2 times 8, negative 8 plus 2. Okay, so this is positive 6. Sulfur is positive 6. This one is positive 3. Still positive 6. Still positive, negative 2. Meta 0. Ayan. Ayan, ang mental. Mental. Kasi tinuro ko rin to kanina. Kaya alam ko na talaga yung sagot. So, yan. Okay, so these are the oxidation numbers of the elements. I will leave that to you to practice. No? Kayo na bahala. Bakit nakuha ni sir ganito, ganyan? I do the crisscrossing na agad. Okay. Tapos kailangan kabisado mo na yung rules. Kasi pag di kabisado yung rules, mabagal ka talaga. No? Okay? So, yan. Pero hindi naman required na kabisaduhin niya yung rules. Ako, kailangan ko kasi chemist ako eh. Wala akong magagawa. Wala akong magagawa. Trabaho ko yun eh. Kaya, pero kayo, you can use the table. Ayan. So with those oxidation numbers, let us check kung sino yung nagbabago. Okay. Tingin ka kung sino yung nagbabago. Ang nagbago ng oxidation number ay yung aluminum. Okay. Ano pa? Yung hydrogen. Yung sulfur and oxygen, hindi sila nagbago eh. Okay? Kita nyo yan? Ano nangyari kay aluminum? From 0, naging positive 3. Okay? Ganun nangyari sa kanya. From 0, naging positive 3. What happened to the oxidation number? The oxidation number increased. Ano meaning nun? Yan ay oxidation reaction. Okay? So this reaction here is an oxidation reaction. Kasi from 0 yung aluminum, naging 3 plus siya. Oxidation yun. Di ba? Ang galing na. How about the other one? O, yung hydrogen. From positive 1, naging 0. Bumaba yung oxidation number niya. It means that it is reduction reaction. Okay? So, aluminum underwent an oxidation reaction and sulfuric acid underwent reduction reaction. So, yun. So, nagbago yung kanilang oxidation numbers and as a result, may redox reaction na nangyari. Now, the question is, sino yung reoxidizing agent, sino yung reducing agent? You can use the Leora-Geroa dito. Sabi natin kanina, pag Leora, losing electron oxidation, reducing agent. Gaining electron reduction, oxidizing agent. Kung sino yung nag-undergo ng oxidation, tawag doon ay reducing agent. Kung sino yung nag-undergo ng reduction, siya yung oxidizing agent. Question, sino yung nag-underwent ng oxidation reaction? A, B, C, D. Sino kaya? Sino nag-undergo ng oxidation? Is it this? Kunwari, ano to? Kunwari, quiz nyo to. Ganito kasi sa quiz nyo. Ito mangyayari sa quiz nyo, no? So, nakalista yung choices. Tatanungin ko. Nakalista yung equation. Tapos ito yung choices, A, B, C, D. Which of them underwent oxidation? Which of them is the, underwent the oxidation reaction? Ayan. Ayun muna. Sino nag-underwent ng oxidation reaction? Ang sagot mo dapat doon is A. Kasi yung reactant yung mag-underwent ng reaction, hindi yung product, no. So basically, kapag nagko-quiz kayo, you can cancel two items. Walang tawag sa kanila, products lang. Pero yung reactants may tawag sila. Ito yung oxidized species, ito yung reduced species, no. Ang tawag natin sa mga species that are oxidized, we call them the reducing agent. Again, baliktad yung tawag, ha? So, ang species that are oxidized are called reducing agent also. Following Leora-Geroa. Sila yung tumulong dito. Okay, sila yung tumulong doon. And consequently, since this underwent reduction, that means this is the oxidizing agent. Sila yung tumulong dito. So kapag nakita nyo sa quiz, no, and even sa final exam, pag ganito yung tanong, A, B, C, D yun, di ba? Pwede mo na ma-reduce yung choices mo to 2. Kasi yung products, walang tawag sa kanila bukod sa products. Okay? Yung reactant yung may tawag. Ito yung oxidized, ito yung reduced. Ito yung reducing agent, ito yung oxidizing agent. Again, pag dinagdag mo yung word na agent, babaliktad yung tawag, ha? Ito yung oxidized species, also called reducing agent. Ito yung reduced species, also called oxidizing agent. Okay? Pag may agent kayong nakita, baliktad tawag dun. Okay? You just follow Leora Geroa. Okay? So, that is how the quiz will look like, no? Sa atin in the near future. I mean by near future, next week. Okay? So, ganyan yung itsura ng quiz natin. Okay. So that is how you identify if a reaction is redox or not. How about this one on the bottom? Is this a redox reaction? Ano ginawa ko para malaman ko kung redox? I track the oxidation numbers. Okay? So titignan ko yung mga oxidation numbers. Again, I will leave this to you to manually solve for them. But I will check mentally, no? Ayan, so si Levin, nagsagot na siya kanina pa. Sabi niya, no. Tignan natin kung no. Pero ang sagot ay no. Okay? So, tingnan natin. Mentally, si hydrogen, non-metals katabi niya, positive 1 yan. So, we have sulfate ion, wala yang peroxide, so negative to. So, positive 6 pa rin yan. Okay? So, this is the cation, positive 1. This is plus 1. This is negative 2. This is positive 1. Ganun pa rin to. Positive 6, negative 2. Positive 1, negative 2. Okay. Ayan yung mga oxidation numbers. Okay, so again, if hindi pa nakuha yan, practice this on your own. But this is the answer. So let's keep track of their oxidation numbers. Nagbago ba? Ito 1. Hydrogen 1. 1 din dito. Pagdating sa product side, 1 pa rin. Oxygen, negative 2, negative 2. Pagdating sa product, negative 2 at negative 2 pa rin. Sulfur, positive 6, positive 6 pa rin. And sodium, positive 1, positive 1 pa rin. Meaning, kung hindi nagbago yung kanilang oxidation numbers, then this is not a redox reaction. Okay. So if your oxidation numbers did not change, no? Pag hindi nagbago yung kanilang oxidation numbers, hindi yan redox reaction. Okay? So ano-ano ba yung mga reaction na may redox reaction? Pwede dito yung double displacement. Ay, hindi pala double displacement. Combustion, pwede yan. Combustion reaction, that is a redox reaction. Single replacement. Precipitation, pwede rin. Ano pa ba? Ayun. Ilan lang yan. Okay, so ilan lang yan. So ito makikita nyo, this is single replacement. So that is actually a redox. No? Combustion reaction, that is also a redox. No? Okay. And precipitation reaction, some of them ay redox in nature. Okay. Ay, yung ibang double displacement pala. Ayan, yung iba lang. Kasi ito double displacement to, pero hindi siya redox. Some of the redox reactions are here. No? Pero sa double displacement, yung ilan oo, yung ilan hindi. Okay. How about this one? So for the two items, I want you to identify the oxidizing agent and the reducing agent. Yung number 1, madali lang. Oh. Sino yung oxidizing agent? Sino oxidizing agent? AKA, sino yung reduced? Ang reduced ay si AG. Ayan. AG plus. Ayan, AG plus dapat. Yung product kasi wala tayong tawag sa kanila. So, the oxidizing agent is AG plus or reduced siya. Kasi from positive 1, naging 0 eh. So, reduction nga yan. So, that means, kung iyan ay oxidizing agent, that means ito ay reducing agent or oxidized. And we can verify that, no? Kasi from 0, naging positive 3. Okay. Again, yung products, wala tayong tawag doon. Yung reactants, doon tayo may tawag. Either reduced siya or oxidizing agent, or pwede rin namang oxidize siya or reducing agent. Okay? Again, kapag may word na agent, bumabaliktad yung terms. Kasi tinutulungan nila yung ibang reaction. Kaya bumabaliktad yung terms. About this one? How about this one? Ito siguro I will leave the solving for you, pero bibigay ko na yung answer. Okay? So I will give the answer. Oxygen negative 2, 8, negative 8 is my negative 1. So this will be 7.